It's the Guitar Dads. It's the Guitar Dads.
Welcome to the Guitar Dads Podcast, a podcast for guitar dads by guitar dads. This week, start spreading the news because Mark Tremonti is doing it his way. It's time to break out your flannels, and we're dealing with some 60 cycle hum, but this time it's much wanted and pleasant. Ryan Burke is here.
Hey, everyone.
We'll have a conversation that everyone can afford this week on the Guitar Dads Podcast. Now, the noisiest rigs in the guitar world, Matt and Dave and Ryan.
That's me.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
And we have Ryan Burke with us. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
Ryan Burke, as some of you may know, I think a lot of you may know, is the voice behind, well, he's half of the 60 Cycle Hum podcast, but he's 100% of the 60 Cycle Hum YouTube channel, which you may know and love with all of his amazing gear demos and reviews and all kinds of crazy stuff, especially the April Fool's stuff, which we're coming up on. We can talk about that. We're getting excited about that. But thanks for joining us today, Ryan. How you doing, man? How's everything going?
Things are going good. I'm doing good.
Yeah,
hanging in there.
You're hanging in. He's got the beard. He's growing the beard out. We like it. He's doing like a Game of Thrones thing. I don't know what's going on.
I just decided, like, kind of late summer last year, I was like, I'm just gonna let it go. I'm just gonna let it go natural. And I actually picked a date in my head. I was like, I'm gonna cut it all off on that date, but I'm gonna let it go all natural until then. So I haven't trimmed it except for a little bit back here.
Okay.
I haven't.
That's a commitment.
This is all just what my face would. Well, I trimmed the mustache too, because otherwise it would be like,
it would just be like, you wouldn't be able to eat anything. Yeah.
It would be a curtain over my mouth. But yeah, this is just what it looks like if I just let it go for like 6 months or something like that.
Now that thing doesn't get hot though.
No, I'm sure it's hot. I just can't tell the difference. It's on my face all day, every day. It's not like I can take it off and be like, oh, that feels better.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
So Ryan, I did something similar to that where I let my hair grow over the pandemic. I call it the pandemic pony. And and I had it when we started this podcast. I had it. It was like down to my shoulders. My wife like hated it. Like she just hated it. And it got to the point where it was about 1.5 years in, and she was just like, you know, one day she just said to me, and she was like, this has got to go. And I knew she wasn't joking anymore. And I was like, okay. And that was in June, which is right about the time where it gets warm over here in the Northeast. We live in the Boston area here. And I was like spending more time outside, and it's blowing all in my face. And I was like, that's enough of this. So I cut it off. So, but you're doing a similar thing with the beard, which I respect. I love it. So, awesome. So yeah, so I think we'll get into it. So Dave, what do you want to do? You want to go through our news and have Ryan react to that? And then we can talk to Ryan a little bit more after that.
Yeah, let's we'll get into our news and notes segment.
Our listeners love the news and notes.
Yeah,
and Ryan, we want you to weigh in on this stuff.
Oh,
it's
you definitely
music related. It's music related, less kind of gear related. So
I'm here for it.
Awesome. Go for it, Dave.
All right, so there wasn't a whole lot going on in the music world this week, but we did hear. Now, I want to know what Ryan thinks about this. Mark, you know who Mark Tremonti is, right?
Yeah.
You know, obviously guitarist of Alter Bridge and does his own project and everything. Apparently, he put out a Sinatra album. And he's singing, and he sounds apparently exactly like Frank Sinatra.
This is real.
What? No.
Yes. It's real.
It's real. And the thing is, he's doing it for charity. I think he's doing it for some like cancer research charity or something. And he's selling the albums for that and merch and stuff.
When does it launch?
When does it launch, Dave?
You know, that's a good call.
I thought it already launched.
Check to
make sure it doesn't launch on April 1st. I'm just saying.
That's what
I know. That's what I thought.
Ryan,
too.
That's what I did. I looked at. I saw this YouTube video, and it sounded exactly like Sinatra. I'm like, is this real? But like, there's a whole like behind the scenes video on YouTube. I mean, if this is an April Fool's joke, they're leaning into it pretty hard.
I mean,
there's a bunch of.
you still have to make the recordings to make the joke. So you still made the recordings. You know?
Yeah. I mean, if it's really him and not just Sinatra, but it's kind of
they just got Sinatra to do it.
yeah, or they just grabbed the Sinatra stuff and put it on, right?
Yeah,
I don't know what they did, but it's kind of unbelievable because he sounds exactly like it. But I'm glad you brought up the April Fool's thing, because it's like, is this real? But
it's right here. It's right here on Billboard, and it comes out May 27th. So
there you go.
It's the real thing. Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Yep.
That's something else.
Tremonti, and Tremonti, he's like a metal. Well, he started in Creed, so let's just let's just put that aside.
He's like an aggressive rock.
Yeah, it's aggressive rock. Yeah, and he
yeah.
he has his own band where he sings, and his singing is pretty good. It's pretty metal-y. But this is kind of unbelievable that he's done this. I think everybody's blown away. I wonder what Miles Kennedy thinks about this as a singer in Alter Bridge. Anyway, it's kind of interesting. It kind of blew me away. I sent it to Dave. I was like, this can't be real. It can't be.
Is it covers, or is it in the style of Frank Sinatra?
No. It's like covers. It's like a cover album. Yeah. And
that's wild, right? I mean, that's crazy.
They got musicians that were in Frank Sinatra's original, like one of his bands that he would tour with.
Watch, this is going to be like his next chapter. He's just going to completely walk away from all that rock stuff, and he's just going to do like lounge jazz.
I know.
This is his future.
That would be quite a departure.
Yeah, he's going to keep the guitars and the wah pedals and stuff like that, but it's going to be little solos in like Vegas jazz shows or something like that.
He's not even playing guitar. Like, this is unbelievable to me.
I know, it's so weird.
What's happening? Oh man, it's crazy. What else we got, Dave?
Well, Ryan might know about this. I just read about this today. Apparently, there's a Flannel Nation festival happening out in California in August. And it's like it's like a 90s like revival thing. Like there's the bill has people like bands like Everclear, Soul Asylum, Candlebox, Filter, Cracker, Fastball, Sponge, like all those bands from like the 90s.
Sponge?
Like, yeah.
Wait, when is this happening? Where is this happening? I might be on board because
it's happening in LA on August 13th. It's a one date. It's on a weekend thing. So it's kind of like,
Ryan, this sounds like it's right up your alley. I mean,
yeah, exactly. When I read that, I was like, I think he might be going.
I don't think there's any. I just looked it up. I'm looking at the flyer. I don't think there's any part of this I'm not interested in.
So Ryan, so that's interesting. Like, are you into that kind of music? Like those kind of like
that's what I grew up with. I grew up listening to alt rock radio in the 90s, and that's what I learned to play guitar to. But like, I'm a huge Cracker fan. I'm a huge David Lowery fan, and as a fan, Camper Van Beethoven and whatnot too. And some of these seem like, like that's, like that band had a couple of songs, but that's what I liked. I loved like the one hit and two hit wonders of the 90s, Fastball. Oh my gosh, I'd love to see Fastball.
Yeah, man.
Filter and Sponge too. I mean, the only one on here that I don't have an immediate like connection to is Candlebox, and I'm sure I just need to go listen to some of their songs and be like, oh yeah, those guys. But
Dave, what was Candlebox? What was Candlebox's hit? Dave always knows these hits.
I loved Candlebox. Far Behind was probably their biggest hit, and then they also had what the heck was the name of the song? But yeah, they Candlebox back in that era was one of my favorite bands. But I think this would be a really cool festival.
I might have to make a trip.
You're gonna have to check.
I've never driven up to LA to go to a show before. It's like 2.5 hours away for me.
That's far. Yeah, that's far. Yeah.
But that could be kind of fun.
Flannel Nation. I mean, that's a great name. Just the name alone, you want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
What if it's sad though? What if I show up and it's sad?
It might be sad.
It does have the potential to be kind of bad, right?
Dave and this is funny, Ryan, because Dave and I talk about this in the podcast a lot about like what's a nostalgia act versus what's like a current and more kind of thing that's more exciting. And I like to because Dave likes to talk about Journey, and I love Journey. I love the original Journey stuff. It's like some of the greatest stuff ever. But now it's like they got this other singer that sounds exactly like Steve Perry, and it's like a tribute nostalgia act now, right? It's like even like I love Guns N' Roses. I got the pictures. I got Les Pauls. I'm a big Slash fan, but it's like that's now a nostalgia act. It just is, right? So it's like it doesn't make it less kind of awesome when you go and see these guys, but like this isn't the heyday. They're not really bringing anything new to the table. So yeah, I think it's like there's some sadness to that to some extent. So
I just I think about going to concerts when I was a teen in the 90s. You go to see like those bands or whatever, and the amount of energy that you have as a teen and the amount of energy the bands have. And I imagine everyone at this festival will be my age or older.
Yeah.
And the bands will be much older. And we'll all just be standing around like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's kind of
cool.
Yeah, right. It probably
chugs of our $20 beer or whatever we got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh,
Right.
we're having a great time. You know, it's like you're
Yeah.
forcing yourself to have a great time.
I know. Would you be kind of nervous about like I wonder like how many of these bands are still kind of good, right? I mean, or how many have any of the original? How many of the bands have like a number of original members and all that kind of stuff?
Well,
Yeah.
Cracker, I know is going to be great. Like I've seen them a couple
Okay.
years ago. They're still great. Filter was. Do you guys remember Filter? That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
one that
Yeah,
spun
yeah.
off of 9 Inch Nails, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that was like one guy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. Like as long as the one guy in whatever band he has, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
He's gonna be okay. Is Filter the one? Am I confusing it? Which one was that? The Awake on My Airplane?
It's the Hey Man, Nice Shot.
Hey man, nice
yeah.
shot. Yeah.
It might have been.
Awake on my airplane.
Yeah, that's Filter. That's Filter.
Yeah.
That is Filter. Yeah. Well, that was a great song, but the big one was "Hey Man, Nice Shot."
Yeah, and that one was so 9 Inch Nails.
Oh, it
that
totally
like,
was. Yeah, it totally was.
It's like, did you write that for 9 Inch Nails and just kept it in your pocket because Trent wouldn't let you use it?
Yeah, that's probably exactly what happened.
Who was your band, Ryan? Who was your band back then? What was spinning
know.
all the time on the CD player? Probably back then, right?
I've always been big into what a lot of other people would consider kind of like novelty acts. In my mind, they're not novelty acts. Like I love the presidents of the United States of America. I love like bands like Cake and things like that. Bands that have like a bit of a different musical edge to them, but then still bring like a really strong kind of like pop rock, power pop kind of sensibility to them. Like I love bands like the Dandy Warhols and things like that, all that very like 90s alt and like power pop sort of stuff like really resonates with me. And then of course, I have all my older influences. I love older like surf rock and stuff like that. But that wasn't on the radio when I was
totally
learning guitar,
Well, we know you're a surf rock guy. So yeah, we'll have to talk about that a little bit more too.
Sure.
But that's awesome. Yeah. Dave, what do we got? Any more news? Are we wrapping
That's
it
it.
up?
That's a wrap.
All right,
on
okay, good. We
notes.
can talk to Ryan a little bit more. But those are some good news and notes. The Flannel Fest, Flannel Nation Festival.
Flannel Nation, man.
I think we're gonna have to check that out. So cool. So Ryan, you've been in this game a long time, man. You're one of like the pioneers of guitar podcasting. And so it's kind of like then you get all these.
So sorry.
you got these new guys like us coming in and being like, oh yeah, we can do this stuff too. Like if Ryan can do it, we can do it, right? So
totally. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
But
I don't do it. I don't know, but you can.
And you've recently, and you've grown your YouTube channel a lot over the years. Mm-hmm. And I know you put a lot of time and effort into that, and that's like a full-time gig for you basically now, right?
Yeah, no, it is. It is beyond full-time. It could be much more than full-time, and I'm trying to work hard on not having it be more than full-time.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, I can imagine because like you're getting all the requests, and it takes a lot of time to make this content. And yeah.
I've been. I'll hold it up right now. I've been working on a demo all week, like 3 days of shooting. I've been working on the like 2 days of shooting just completely went in the trash can. I hated every minute that I shot, and I completely reshot it today and re-edited it. And it's like, well, there goes most of my week.
Wow. Is that what you were talking about? Was that what you were referencing in your post about products that you really love and you can never really like what you say or
Yeah,
I about that earlier.
Overanalyze it, and I'm like, oh, that's not perfect. So now I need to redo it, and it's like I get in these like cycles where I just can't break out of it, and I just start going insane, shooting the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh God, yeah,
it drives me bonkers. It's mental.
Oh, I bet it does. So where do you let's see, what's the question I'm trying to ask? Where do you see like the state of like the guitar YouTube world right now? Do you see it as something that you think is going to just continue on this path that it's on? Like, where do you see it going, I guess? Like, do you think you can bring this thing to retirement? Like, what do you think is
I would honestly, I think about this often. I had this discussion with a lot of people at the last guitar event I went to. I went out to Germany to Henning Pauli's house.
Oh, I love those. I always love the videos from those things because you guys get into all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah. And I was talking to people about it. It's like, do you hope to retire doing this? And pretty much everyone was like, yeah, I'd love to retire doing this. No one doing guitar YouTube is doing it because it's a good way to make a living. They're doing it because they love doing it. And many of us, some of us have become very fortunate in that we can make a living doing it.
Yeah.
If I can continue making a living doing this, I enjoy the work. I legitimately enjoy the work. I enjoy filming. I enjoy editing. I enjoy all of it. And so it's sustainable for me to keep going till retirement. And hopefully, you know, I would slowly phase out and, you know, be a legacy act myself and be like, well, I'll do my 2 videos a month and, you know, some brand will wheel me out to promote something or something like that.
And you'll have like a big white beard and it'll be like Santa. Yeah.
I'll have, you know, sponsor stickers on my wheelchair and they'll put a guitar in my hand.
Yeah, it's Ryan.
Yeah. But I could definitely see myself retiring doing this if the technology and the platform still exists, but it's probably not going to. This is probably the last year. Next year, it's going to be all TikTok. It's over, guys.
Oh, geez. Well, you know, that's really interesting because I was going to ask you about that because I know you're pretty active on Instagram. Have you got into the TikTok since you brought it up?
Yeah, I haven't started doing TikTok. I haven't really figured it out, but I haven't really been trying to figure it out.
Okay.
But I am making myself present there. And I honestly do enjoy TikTok. And I kind of feel like Instagram is dead. And honestly, it never really was. It was never something that was profitable or worthwhile for me. Like TikTok, I mean, Instagram is fun and you get some quality interactions there. But I've, you know, this is my job. You know, I've got to make it make sense money wise. I've never had a brand be like, hey, we really love the Instagram. Let's do something through Instagram. And there's never been a way to monetize it. There's never been a way to get people who are on Instagram to come over to YouTube and interact in the ways that, you know, cause things to work out for me. And TikTok is kind of the same way. It's like, it's not really something that I can figure out how to monetize, but if you get enough followers on there and enough views, then I guess you can make money doing it. So maybe there's more hope for TikTok than there is for Instagram. But I tend to publish stuff to Instagram just to keep the audience informed, or, you know, just kind of like pad out my content a little bit. Like, hey, here's a clip, or hey, here's something I'm working on. And, you know, I do it for fun.
Yeah. No, but that's good. I like, you get to, you know, I follow you on Instagram, so it's like a behind the scenes of the channel kind of. No, I think that's a good point because I feel like there's just, you can't get into the, especially for what you do, right? Which is mainly demo type of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, you can't get into detail on TikTok. I mean, maybe you could do like a quick thing where it's like, here's a sound from this pedal, but it's like, that's not going to. Yeah,
people on TikTok don't care about that.
They don't. Yeah, they don't.
Right.
They don't.
No,
they don't.
It's just like everything else. It's like so generational. I feel like the old guy now when you talk about like, you know, Facebook and Instagram, because like, and all the kids are doing like TikTok, and you grab their attention for like, you know, 20 seconds, and they're not even sometimes on TikTok, and then it's done. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's, I totally see your point.
The one thing that is cool about TikTok that I have noticed, I don't spend a lot of time on it, but there are some like TikTok famous like players out there. Like there's actually guitar players, some young guys that are doing incredibly well on it. And really they do like these very quick things where they're either shredding or some guitar thing, or like my favorite guy, I forget what the dude's name is, but he does this thing where he's like, I pretend to be a beginner guitarist and then I shred have you seen this dude?
Yeah, I think I've seen him.
So it's like, that's like the next, like that. I feel like that's how Jared Dines started, with like lame stuff like that. But like, for some reason that maybe works for him on TikTok for whatever reason, you know? So, but it's like, how many times can he pull that gag? But anyway,
I think a lot of those types of guitar entertainers are going to make a seamless transition to TikTok, but like the demo channels, it's going to be a lot harder. Like my stuff is going to be a lot harder to move over there. But the people like Music is Win and Jared Dines and people with, and your Stevie T's and whatnot, you know, the what is it, Davey 504 or whatever. The people that, you know, a lot of what they do is gags and jokes and quick hot takes anyways, they're probably going to be fine over there. You know, they're going to make it work somehow. But, you know, I can publish videos to TikTok there as long as 3 minutes long. But again, the audience doesn't want that on TikTok.
Yeah, they're just going to scroll away. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like it's a totally different format, because you go to YouTube And, some of the content is recommended to you, but a lot of the content is what you're searching for. You find out about a product. You're like, well, I'm going to go look up and see what demos there are of that. No one does that on TikTok.
Yeah.
No one does that.
No one does
on
that.
Instagram.
Right.
Like you don't go on those sorts of platforms and search for new boss pedal and watch whatever videos come up. Like that's just not how you treat them.
That's not how it work. Yeah.
I think because YouTube has that functionality, like it's going to persist for quite a while. I think it's going to be fine.
Cool. Now, I think you're right. So that was my next question is, do you feel to me, it seems like over the years, the guitar companies, like the gear companies, are leaning more heavily into YouTube because they realize what a big deal it is. Like I remember there's like some threads that happen in the Facebook group where it's like, oh my God, like this new pedal launched and like there's 30 videos and people are like annoyed by this. And I'm like, no, that's awesome. Like we're in this like unbelievable age, right? Like obviously I think you've noticed that where companies really have tagged onto this. We actually heard this from Andy, where he said, when I started, I didn't have a lot of followers, but I still had like 10,000 followers. Like people wouldn't even talk to me. Right. And, and it's like, now I feel like a smaller channel could actually do that because the gear companies understand the value of it. Have you seen that? Or do you feel like that's true? Yeah,
absolutely. I'd say in the past, like 2 years, the big brands, because the small brands have been on board really early, like all the small pedal builders and stuff like that, they saw the potential right away and have been taking advantage of demo videos and whatnot. But the big brands have been starting to invest in a serious way the past couple of years. And we saw it with the Fender Acoustasonic thing. Like they tried to go full bore with that and they got some backlash. Yeah. And honestly, like, I get it. I get the backlash. I get why people were upset. But like you were saying, I think everyone should be happy.
It's amazing.
They should be happy that their favorite YouTubers is getting a payday, and it's one day where everything launches, and then tomorrow I promise there will be other new videos. If you don't want to watch the new videos, go watch the old videos, or find a channel that covers some other interest that you have or something like that. But let your favorite channels have a payday. It doesn't come often.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like people, exactly. It's like, it's so true. Like people need to understand, like the reason you have all these channels is because of days like this, right? Like, this is what supports it all. Like it takes so much time and effort that like you can't.
Yeah, the product launches and the paid demos, they make all the independent content that everyone loves possible, because it means like, oh, I've got money in my pocket now, I can spend a portion of the week recording some concept video that people will be really into, where if I didn't have that money in my pocket, I'd be searching out some other way to make money that might be less interesting. So like having those paydays and as like cynical and selloutish as it sounds, it makes it possible. It makes it all possible. And just because like you're getting paid to do a demo doesn't mean like the things that you're saying and expressing aren't what you think and feel. I have so many different income streams coming in. Like it's not worth my while to think about how to keep anyone happy. I just say what I'm thinking about what I'm holding,
Yeah. So you've always been, so that's one of the reasons why I like your channel so much, is because you've always been like that. And it comes across in videos that you're not just like a shill. And maybe if you have been, that you've fooled me on it. So there's that.
my mentality is that I don't have a good enough memory to be a liar. I can't keep it all straight. If I was a liar, I would fall apart like in a week or two. And everyone would be like, hey, you said this. I'd never be able to remember all the twisted threads of some lie that I wove, You're
like, oh, I said that was good? What? Oh,
yeah. I don't remember that being good.
I think it's just so much easier to promote something that you really like, because you can it just flows and comes off very easily. Whereas if you got some piece of gear that you really don't like, you're kind of just faking it. Just, you can tell on YouTube with plenty of videos where somebody just doesn't really, they're not into what they're doing,
If I've got something that I'm filming and like, I don't get it, or I think there's something about it that doesn't make sense to me, I'll point that thing out. And I'll do the demo and I'll go through it and I'll show all the features. And at the end of the video, I'll be like, what do you guys think? What's your opinion on this? Where like, it kind of annoys me because on the other side, going back to the DL4, which I've really been enjoying, is like, when you really like something, I catch myself gushing And then I go back and I watch it and I'm editing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is pathetic. Like you're just gushing and gushing and gushing. Like all you're doing is just praising this thing. Like, and then I'll go and refilm it and just try to do it as flat and as fair as I can. Just be like, here are the facts. Here's the thing. So in the end, I end up with something that's about the same for both examples. Like, oh, here's the thing I kind of don't care about. And here's the thing that I really care about, but I've refilmed it to be like, oh, here it is. Like I was really gushing in the video I did for the new Yamaha Rev
Oh yeah,
Star.
that thing looks great.
And some guy called me out in a comment today. He's like, man, you're really overselling this thing. I don't believe it. I love it. I love this guitar. And I've already used it in other videos, and you're going to see it pop up in all sorts of videos because I love playing it. I don't know what to tell you. What I told him was like, go try one in a store if you get a chance, and then check back in and tell me if I'm wrong, I guess. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man.
So Ryan, like I said, I've always appreciated your honesty. And like there was one video where I just didn't believe I was that guy, because I think it was the that little Fender like headphone thing that's like this big.
Oh yeah,
like a tiny thing. And I was like, I think I commented on one of your things and I was like, oh come on, that thing looks terrible. But like you said, like no, it actually sounds good, and it's an interface and it does all these different things, and it's like whoa. Like I was kind of surprised that you thought it was so good. I was like, I believed you because I've come to trust your reviews, but it was like I was like, oh come on, that thing's like looks dumb.
I can't speak for everyone. Like plenty of people are going to get one of those, the Fender Micro Mustang, and they're not going to like it. They're not going to like it for whatever reason, probably legitimate reasons. There's preferences and stuff like that. I probably use that more than any other piece of gear.
Really?
Wow. Like for my personal playing, I use that like for almost all my personal playing. Like I sit on the couch, I plug it into a guitar, I'm watching TV with the captions on, and I jam along to YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I will say that like it is not, perfect audio. It's a little tiny computer box you plug in and it's battery powered and whatnot. It sounds digital. It's not, it's not the most adjustable thing in the world, but there's something about it that just works for me. And there's something about the digital nature of the drives and stuff like that. Like it sounds a lot better than you would expect it to. Like if you could go back 10 years and hand it to someone, they'd be blown away. What? This sounds like that. But compared to so many things today, it's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. But something about it just cuts through the mix in a really pleasant way when I'm playing along with YouTube videos. And I have a couple other things around that do a similar thing. Like I have that Moore guitar that has the built-in electronic.
Oh yeah. And Andy was saying he loved that thing.
It's a lot of fun. It's a great guitar, but that thing, and then I have the new X little headphone plug thing too. Those two things have major lag with the audio coming through the phone over Bluetooth. So if you're jamming along to music videos or watching a lesson or something like that, everything's like a beat and a half behind, and it's really frustrating.
Oh, that's annoying.
The Micro Mustang is like, you can't detect it. It's the Bluetooth is right on top of the phone. And that's another reason why I've been meaning to make a video on this. But the new X, if you want audio quality, I think the new X is the tops for the audio quality out of those three. And it has some really great adjustability, but there's problems with that because you have to get into the app to adjust it, where you have the adjustments on the side of the unit for the Fender one, which is so much more convenient for me sitting there like scrolling through YouTube videos to play along with.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And they're like, I just want to change to like an overdrive sound. I want to change to a metal sound. I don't have to get into an app and deal with sliders and presets and stuff.
Yeah. Have you found like everything has an app? Like I got for Christmas, I got this this mug that like heats itself up as it's like a heater that keeps your coffee warm, and it has an app. And I'm like, I don't need an app to control my coffee mug. Like
every time you want coffee, you do. Like, okay, hold on, let me find that. What was it called? Coffee? No, it's not called coffee. It's called some silly thing like
There's always some crazy name.
I feel like it can
espresso or something like that.
Yeah. I feel like companies have to like go the other way. It's like everybody has. It's like you have. It's like everything doesn't have to be on an app, guys. Like sometimes you just want to turn some knobs, especially guitar players. We just want to turn knobs sometimes, right? So
I have been thinking, because I charge flat rates for my demos.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about adding an app fee.
That's a great.
Not even joking. I think I was actually talking to Andy about it. I was like, I'm so tired of trying to film my phone and trying to keep track of apps and having to download software for various products. And like, I think if a product has a piece of software that is required for the demo or an app or something like that, I think I'm going to charge $100 extra. Like, here's my
I think
app
that's a good
fee.
idea. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's so much time.
It's a whole other thing that I have to learn. Like,
Yeah.
it's one thing to have a piece of hardware on the desk and can sit there and turn knobs and whatever and figure out what it sounds like with the guitar. But then you introduce an app, and every time you do that, it's like, okay, well then this might as well be a multi-effects unit. And now I have to learn everything, and like, I'm gonna miss so much, and it's so much extra homework and whatnot. It's a headache.
Oh, I can imagine. See, look at this.
Yeah, but you're just trying. You're playing with, like, guitar effects and all these other things. Matt doesn't even know how to heat his coffee with his ass. I would just think you just turn the temperature up and down, and that's
what is this app? No, it turns out with this coffee mug, you don't need an app to. I think there was like a commercial where like it was making fun of all this, and the guy walked in and he's like, "Hey, trash can, order me a pizza." And the trash can's like, "Okay, I'll order you a pizza." Like, that's where we're.
And then you got a pizza on the table. Hey, pizza, order me a trash can.
Yeah, exactly. How do I throw out the trash over here?
Seriously, we're getting, like, the technology is going the other way. It's like at some point it's not convenient anymore. So
and
that's
I
really
think
funny.
about like end usability, and I think about the way I build my own personal pedal boards. I've got all these products that come in that use apps and stuff like that. I'm never pulling out my phone to adjust something with an app when I'm at a gig or to practice or something like that. Never.
Totally.
I'm never going to do that.
Totally.
Like, it's one thing to like dial in some secret setting when you're, jamming at home and like, okay, cool. That's a cool setting. In the moment, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not.
Well, that's like,
it's not practical at all.
No.
Like, I was blown away by the tone print stuff when I first got that years ago.
Yeah.
Right. What is that? Not electro.
That's TC Electronics.
TC
Electronic. Yeah.
And I was like, this is unbelievable. But then it's like, I found a setting I liked and I never did it ever again. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And what are you going to do? Pull out your phone and, code zap your guitar so you can pull up some setting you've never used before. And it's like,
it's like, this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
it got glitchy too. I was covering a lot of TC pedals for a while, and some of them were really back and forth where I'd be like, I can't get it to work, guys. I'm sorry. I can't get it to connect.
Really interesting. Well, Dave loves those TC, those cheap pedals that they put out, right? Dave,
I did. Yeah. When you got me started in things, I was buying those, and I think I still have one of them, and the other ones I've gotten rid of since. But I never was really interested in like the tone print stuff, because for that exact reason, like, this is just one more thing that I got to deal with and figure out. And I don't have time. I just want to plug the guitar in, click on the pedal and play and have a good time. I don't want to be like downloading, fidgeting around with sounds and all this stuff.
Yeah, we like pedals and we like amps and we like guitars because we like pedals and amps and guitars.
That's right.
Like, these companies need to stop going like, oh man, they like guitars, but they love computers. Let's give them a computer.
It's so true.
It's like, they love apps. These people love apps. It's like, no, we don't. Like, no.
Yeah. I mean, I love apps. I mean, I love a nice, a cream cheese stuffed jalapeno or something like that. So like potato skins, nachos. Potato skins. Yeah, I could murder some potato skins.
Yeah, potato skins are great. Like, you get those at TGI Fridays back in the day.
Those are my kind of apps.
Even like I had
sounds so old complaining about apps, but we're complaining
totally do
because we've already spent so many years with them and we're tired of them,
That's right.
This is the guitar dads. We're like, we're not super old, but we're old enough where we can complain about this stuff.
Right.
That's kind of the theme of guitar dads.
In a couple of years, we'll change the name to like Get Off My Lawn podcast.
Get Off My Lawn.
We'll just be complaining. Yeah.
And like, and another, it's just an hour of ranting and another thing.
It's like, I'm not against technology. Like, I'm all for like digital amps and advancing the technology and stuff like that. But give me an interface with knobs. I want a power switch. I want the knobs.
Yeah.
Give it to me. Yeah.
So Ryan, you've kind of leaned in pretty heavily in your channel to like the affordable gear, which I think is really commendable and very cool because, that's probably what most people are playing when we get down to it. Right. And that, you've had some success with that. Like, how did you kind of get into that? And, and I know like we talked about, we know you're pretty honest with your gear. So, and I've watched some things, like I saw the Firefly video where you were like, no, like this thing is not worth whatever $150 it is, right? Or one of the models, there were other ones. But like,
there was the Zooway guitar, which is a complete. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh yes, that's right.
Angry at it still. It was a complete disaster. And then I got a different guitar in, and it was like they're asking too much for this, and and there's been problems with Fireflies and stuff like that.
So how do you deal with that? Like, because that's the thing. Like you're kind of like playing with fire a little bit, right? You're like, it's easy to. I would think it's easier to get a Chase Bliss pedal and just be like, yeah, this thing's incredible. Like, here's some
are incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that must be that's the thing. You kind of chose to go like this more kind of difficult route. And in my opinion, like what's your thoughts? Like, how did you get into that?
I'd say that the affordable stuff isn't more difficult, to be honest with. And I'll get into that. With nice stuff, the problem with nice stuff is that it almost never ever sucks. It's also subjective. Like if something's nice, a lot of people spend a lot of time making it nice. Yeah. And they are charging that price because they feel confident in it. Where the budget stuff can legitimately be all over the map. It becomes less subjective and it becomes more objective, which is honestly more fun for people to watch, which is why I think a lot of those videos are pretty successful. I started doing the affordable thing kind of on a whim. I don't remember where my headspace was, but I vaguely remember that people had been asking, like, hey, you're covering all this stuff I can't afford. Maybe you could cover this stuff on Amazon or eBay or whatever. And I would always explain, it's like, yeah, I could do that, but then I have to buy it all. And I really don't have the funds to do that when I start years of doing this, like barely scraping by, like watching my savings dwindle year after year.
Oh, I can imagine.
And then in I think the past 2.5 years, I've been able to see, and I treaded water for a long time too, where it's like, okay, I'm not losing money, but if we have an emergency, it's going to be an emergency.
It's going to be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. But for the past couple of years, I've finally been able to put some money back in savings.
That's awesome.
Feeling more relaxed. So 8 years into it, and I've got 2 years of saving money.
Oh, dude, you are grinding it out, man.
Yeah,
you're
just grinding it. But
awesome.
What I'll say is, I had on a whim. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try a bunch of affordable pedals. So I got on Amazon, I got on eBay, and everything I could find that was around $20, I bought it. And I think I started with like 6 pedals. So it was like an investment of like $120, which is significant. It was significant for me at the time.
Sure.
And so I just did it, and I went through all the pedals, and the video did really decent. And it's like, well, okay, I'll do it again. I'll try it again. And I did it a couple times. And then what started happening is these import brands that make these $20 pedals and stuff notice. They're like, oh, hey, we're seeing action on Amazon and eBay, and it's going back to this video for whatever reason. This guy's filming our pedals. I think because of the language barrier, they couldn't hear that I was criticizing a lot of the pedals or something like that. Or they flat out just don't care. They're just like, oh, we just want screen time, and this guy's giving screen time.
Yeah.
So for a good portion of the affordable stuff, I started to have these import brands hit me up and be like, hey, can we send you more stuff? I'd cover a brand, and all these brands are connected, by the way. Like they're all made by the same, like 3 parent companies or whatever. Okay. They're all brands. So they hear like, oh, this person's pedal got featured on here, and now they're getting all this attention and whatnot. And so now all these brands started hitting me up, and I'd just be like, yeah, sure. Send me everything. And I just flat out tell them, send me everything that you make. And they would.
Wow. And then it just built on itself, and here we are, affordable.
Yeah. And then eventually I got bolder, and I was like, you know what, I'm doing all this work, and I am making some money with the ad revenue from the videos. Yeah. But this is work, and I need to be realistic. And I started pitching my demo rates to these import companies, and some of them started paying.
Oh, so that's awesome. Oh, that's
for a while, I kind of cooled off on the affordable stuff because I think I mostly ran out of product. I don't think there's a lot left that I have.
Tried it all.
That series did amazing for me. It grew the channel, and it really established me as someone that can be trusted to give like a full, like candid, like experience with like this affordable stuff. And when you when you build that reputation, you don't want to lose it. I'm not going to go around and just say everything that I touch is amazing just because I get it. Like, that's not the gig. The honestly, the boss is the audience. And if I betray the trust of the audience, then like I'm not employed anymore.
And so it's
right,
over. Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting, Ryan. Yeah, that's interesting to hear the story, how that evolved. That's really cool. We'll put you on the spot. What do you think is some of the best affordable gear that you've demoed?
One guitar that, like, time in and time out, when people tell me that they bought it after watching my videos, every single time they tell me they're in love with it and it might be the best guitar they own, is the Squire Starcaster.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh.
It's one loves it, and it makes me so happy because I love mine. I don't feature it very often anymore, but I love that guitar. And if anyone out there is curious about them, it's I'm not sure, just go try one. Like,
how much are those, Ryan?
I think right now they're $399.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah,
it's not bad. It's not bad. It's a semi-hollow with a bun neck and wide range style pickups. It's weird. It's a weird guitar.
It is weird. Yeah.
Things so wonderful about it too, and everyone that buys one loves it for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what though, the Squire Classic Vibe stuff, because we're more into these vintagey guitars. Like, I'm blown away because I have a lot of nice guitars. Like, I don't like affordable gear for the most part. but like, I bought the Squire Classic Vibe because I was telly curious, to steal one of your terms. Sure. I was telly curious, and that's what this one is right behind me. And I was like, I'm just gonna buy one and just see what it's like, see if I like tellies. And I'm blown away by how good it is. And Dave has like 2 of them now. I got
the telly back there, and I got a Strat. And
there's a lot of days where I pick that thing up and I don't pick up my like Les Paul or my PRS or one of these, nice guitars. So no, I think Squire's come a long way, right?
I've got the Squire baritone hanging behind me right now, and off my mic. It is excellent. Like, I have a baritone parts guitar that I put together like a decade ago, and I put it away in its case, and that's just the baritone I use now because it's essentially the same neck. Like, I built a parts guitar around a Fender Blacktop Telly neck that I bought off of eBay for like $400 10 years ago. It is the exact same neck.
Wow.
Squire baritone. Like, there's the finish color is different. There's more of an amber finish on the Fender neck, where the Squire neck is like a very blonde kind of like light finish. But it is the same shape, same build quality of neck on the Squire, and the entire Squire 10 years later costs the same as that entire neck that I bought.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's wild.
Wow. Yeah. So that's crazy.
It's a baritone neck. You can buy one of those Squires and go put it on something else, and it's the same neck that I bought a decade ago for the same price as that whole guitar. Like,
that's just unbelievable. Yeah. So they're just doing it right. So, definitely check out Squires if you're interested in this stuff.
I was talking to someone else in the industry in a different guitar brand the other day about Squire. And I won't name names, brands or whatever, because I don't want them to, get in trouble or whatever. But we were talking about how amazing Squire has become, and how they have completely shifted the public's idea of Squire over the past couple of years, where it used to be like, I can't afford a Fender, I guess I have to get a Squire.
I guess I'll get a Squire. Yeah,
I guess I'll get a Squire Strat or a Telecaster, and eventually I'll swap the pickups and I'll have someone like fix the frets or whatever. Yeah. But now the mentality is Squire's putting out something I can't get anywhere else. They've come out with something freaky or weird or different, with a finish I've never seen before, with pickups and a body I've never seen before. And they play great, and the price is right. Like, Squire fandom is at an all-time high right now, and people are not embarrassed at all to be seen on stages with Squire. Like, they've completely changed the mentality around the brand.
Yeah,
which is like, it's going to be a marketing study
Yeah, it is. It's probably going to be because I went to business school, so it's like it's going to come up as one of those business cases that they teach in business school about marketing. Because I agree with you, it's kind of unbelievable what they've done.
Yeah.
Did you hear? Like, I like to joke about this because did you hear the guitar player for Genesis, Dave? What's his name?
Here we go. Yeah, Mike Rutherford.
Mike Rutherford.
He claimed
ahead,
that he was
Dave.
playing. He claimed that he was playing on this most recent tour is playing a bullet.
Why not?
Right, but I'm sure the thing was like modded like crazy, right? It couldn't have been like off the
Well,
rack kind of,
it turns out it
you know,
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It turns out
was.
it turns out like, they interviewed his guitar tech and the guitar tech's like, yeah, I basically changed
None
every
of this
single
is, yeah,
thing on
none of this
but
is
like
original.
not the neck and not like the maybe not the neck and the body, but like the pickups, the electronics, everything was changed. But like apparently the story is he was quarantined in like South Africa or something during the height of the pandemic, and like he just went to the store and like picked these up and bought like a bunch of them, bought like 5 or 6 of them, and just really loved them, and and then decided he was going to go on tour with them. So yes, it's a little ridiculous because the techs were probably like, this isn't going to stay in tune. Like, what the hell, man?
I'm sure his tech took it apart and probably maybe changed the tuners, maybe dressed the frets a little bit, and I'm probably like copper shielded it or something like that to keep the noise down. Maybe swapped electronics. I don't know, or maybe there's a lot of that stuff is still stock.
Yeah,
but there's something about the vibe of a cheap guitar. Like there's a different kind of mojo there, and there's definitely like a vibe and a mojo. I hate using that term, but for lack of a better term, for expensive guitars too, like there's something in the feel and the presence of having an expensive guitar in your hands. But that's a similar but different kind of experience playing a cheap guitar that can be just as pleasurable if that's what you enjoy. And it's the playability and the performance of these things is so subjective. So
it is.
I don't blink at all when someone's like, oh yeah, this professional player uses something that anyone could buy. It's $200 or $300 or something like that.
Yeah. I remember when we talked about this in the podcast, I remember saying to Matt, like, if you were at that show, you would have, and you didn't know, you'd have no idea. You probably say, oh, I wonder what the heck that guitar is, because it sounds great. Right. Because I feel like an expense, to your point, like an expensive guitar feels great for you, but if you can get a cheap guitar or an inexpensive guitar to sound really good, and you're a gigging musician, that's what it's all about. It's not about like what you feel. It's about what your audience is hearing and experiencing. So yeah,
it's true. So Ryan,
I remember.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Ryan. No, you had something. You had a story for us.
I remember like the first time I like noticed like Squires being used on a stage and having the thought like, oh, this is a turning point. This is like people are taking Squires seriously now. Because I played a show with my surf band, and there was another surf band playing that was a much more like traditional style surf band, and the guitarist was using a Squire Jazzmaster, and it sounded great. It looked great, but the thing that caught me off guard is like, this is a very traditional surf band, and I know that guy has like original like 1966 Jazzmasters at home.
Wow.
Like, he's choosing to play that. And he's choosing to be seen on stage with it, and he's not bothered by it at all. And spending time in groups with other surf guitarists and stuff, like all the traditional guys can be very uppity.
Oh, they would hate that.
Very court sniffery. And to see that shift where like people in that scene are like, yeah, this is a great guitar. It spoke a lot to me. So
that's really interesting. Speaking of that, one thing we covered in our news and notes a couple weeks ago was, and I see the thing behind you, so that's why I'm asking, is John Mayer was playing his SE during his tour, and I thought that spoke a lot to how he feels about the guitar, because he's someone that is very high end guitar guy, right? Dumbles, very expensive signature PRSs. Prior to the Silver Sky and stuff. And he's playing it on stage. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think of it? I haven't got my hands on one yet, but
it's a great Strat.
Yeah.
No, honestly, like it's a really fun guitar. And like, there's people on the internet who get mad when you call it a Strat. It's not a Strat. It's a PR.
It's a Strat.
Of course it's a Strat. That's exactly what it is.
Come on. Strat. Paul knows it's a Strat. We all know it's a Strat. Don't kid yourself. It's a Strat.
It took him. Come on, Ryan. Come on. It took him 2 years to come up with this. I mean,
The people laugh at that, but I honestly, like, I understand where that time frame comes from.
yeah,
Like,
no, sure, yeah.
on a scale of production that requires things to take years to develop. Like I had a conversation with someone at Fender when the American Pro 2 line came out.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And they were like, "Oh man, we're so glad to have this, finally launched. We've been working on it for like 3 or 4 years." And I was like, "What?"
Wow.
The American Pro line came out like 3 years ago. The first, they're like, "Yeah, the moment we launched that, we started working on this one, and we've been working on it ever since."
Wow.
It takes, like, we're so spoiled, the consumer, the person on the internet who's entertained by, product launches and stuff. We're so spoiled, like, oh, it's going to come out this season, it's coming out this quarter.
Yeah.
They're, these people who work for these companies have been working on these lines for years. It's not a throwaway thing.
No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, that's how the product cycle works. Totally right. Yeah.
And I joke with Matt about. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, when people are like, "Oh, how come they didn't think about putting this modern detail on there?" Because they came up with it 4 years ago.
That's right. No, I joke with Matt about the Silver Sky, because I feel like the development team was, they spent years working on this thing, and like they couldn't come up with anything, and then finally one day somebody comes in with a Strat and like, let's just put a PRS headstock on it. Looks good. Okay, let's go with it.
It's a Strat. It's and John Mayer's like perfect, and then they just
perfect. There, we're done.
Oh man, that's great. That's great.
I'm feeling like a lot of those 2 years was probably John talking Paul into solid colors. It's like, no, we're not going to do a quilt, Paul.
Yeah. Flame top. Yeah.
He keeps bringing out like 10 tops with quilts, and
it's like all these quilts that come in and out, and he's like, no, I want Tesla. I got this Tesla colors. Yeah. I like that one. Is that the dragon fruit one you got, Ryan? That's great. Yeah.
I call it the Baskin Robbins pink color. It is.
Okay. Yeah.
It gives me fond memories of that specific, like, vintage Baskin Robbins logo.
Are there any Baskin Robbins left?
They left?
No. Are there any Baskin Robbins left? We don't. See, we don't have any of those anymore on the East Coast. Or
the East Coast. There was a time where they were like, weren't they like, they were like paired with like Dunkin' Donuts or something, Dave? Like Dunkin' Brands owned them.
Did it? I don't even.
It was
remember.
Anyway. It was a weird situation. Anyway.
We still have a Baskin Robbins that's in the same location it's been in my entire life.
Oh, really? Oh,
wow.
Okay. Different things on the West Coast. It's like we don't have any of them anymore. But ice cream's a huge deal over here, though, Ryan. Like, there's every town in the summer. They're all seasonal, of course, but like every town's got like a bunch of ice cream. Like, I live in a small town on the coast, and it's like there's like 5 ice cream places that they're all seasonal. So it's
we don't have the seasonal thing here because it's San Diego.
It's San Diego,
yeah.
Year round. My battle is that Froyo blew up around here years back.
Oh yeah,
kind of took over the cold dessert scene, and I'm over it. Like, no more. I'm done with Froyo. I was happy to see him come back because they were big in the 80s and the 90s, and then they went away. It's like, oh, Froyo's back. That's fun. It's like, I just want ice cream. Like this Froyo is like,
man.
It feels empty. It feels like a waste of my treat because it
really is.
Now, did you guys have the places? Did you guys have the places where like you go and like serve yourself? I think those were like doomed to fail from the beginning because it's like, this is ridiculous. Like, anyway.
I like that aspect of it, but at the end of it, I'm like, this is just frozen sweet water. That's an excuse to pile a bunch of toppings on top of it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and then the people that they're eating the Froyo, they're like, well, it's healthier. I'm trying to save the calories. Meanwhile, they're topping it with like, every ounce of sugar they possibly can, and brownies and everything. And next thing you know, it's probably more calorific than a regular ice cream. Just eat the ice cream.
It's healthier in some way. You feel sad at the end of it.
You really do. You totally do.
We've got a Froyo place that is 3 shops down from our Baskin Robbins. Yeah. And every time my wife or kids are like, oh, let's go get Froyo. And I was like, I'll meet you back here. I'm going to go get Baskin Robbins. Usually one of my kids is like, yeah, I want ice cream too. And so I'll go get a scoop of, whatever quadruple, chocolate fudge thing they have or whatever. And I'll sit there like working on a cone. It's a smaller serving. It's a smaller cone, but that scoop of intensely rich chocolate ice cream is a billion times more satisfying than, some tower of, artificially flavored frozen yogurt with gummy worms sticking out of it.
Yeah. I'm glad I was going to say gummy bears, but you went with the gummy worms. So awesome. I know that's what my kids would do. They would just it's like gummy worms and gummy bears. I'm like, that's like disgusting. Like you're eating, like, what the heck are you doing? Anyway,
Yeah.
but I was glad to see that whole like serve yourself and pile on gummy bears. I'm glad that's over, because my daughter used to beg me to go when she was young, and I was like, oh man. But anyway, yeah, it's fun times anyway. But actually, speaking of kids, that's one thing I also want to talk to you about, because this is the Guitar Dads podcast.
Sure.
I know your kids are younger, but what's it like being a guitar dad? And how do you like deal with like not pressuring your kids too much into getting into guitar or music? Or do you just pressure your kids into it? How do you deal with like kids and music and, trying to foster their interest? Because that's something that we kind of struggle with, or just it's maybe not struggle, but it's something we kind of deal with as guitar dads, because we're so obsessed with this, right?
The most effective way to get your kids interested into music is to forbid them into being music. So I tell them all the time, none of this is for you. You will never play guitar. I won't allow it.
Madam, they come into the room and you're like, get out of here.
No, if my kids have a desire and want to learn how to play guitar, then obviously they have a wealth of resources here. And I've actually had conversations with like people who are sponsors and stuff like that, various companies. I've been like, yeah, if my kids ever, want to learn how to play guitar, then I can probably get, that content sponsored. And the sponsor's always like, yes, we are on board. If that happens, let us know.
That's awesome.
We will cut the check. So
wow, that's great. So you got to do it now. It's like the family business.
Come on, kids. You got to pay for your college. Learn guitar.
That's right. There you go.
You only have to play till you're 18, and then you're all set.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want after that, right? Yeah.
Ryan's running like a Jackson 5 kind of operation where he's like abusing the kids to play guitar. Yeah. Yeah.
I have no desire to push them into, playing an instrument if they don't want to. They see me having fun doing it, but you see your parents doing something and you're immediately not interested in it, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
My son, who's the older one, he has interest in being in YouTube videos, but he like every time I pull him in every now and then, like, hey, you want to be in a video? Like, okay, pick some pedals, we're gonna do a thing. And then he always kind of like doesn't know what to do and isn't really actually interested in doing the content. So.
Oh yeah. Wow, he's how old is he, Ryan?
He's 7.
Yeah. So I have an 8-year-old. I have an 8-year-old. Dave has a 9-year-old, almost 9-year-old.
Almost 9, yeah.
Almost 9-year-old. Yeah.
Interested in playing music until I was like in 4th grade. I tried to learn to play trumpet and it didn't take. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get my mouth to work right. And then I didn't try again until I was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
So 7,
Exactly. I didn't even pick up Dave and I both didn't even pick up a guitar until college, like freshman year in college.
Yeah, I was afraid
we were
of it
adults. Yeah.
I grew up playing piano, and I felt like piano was kind of like an easier. I mean, I played all sorts of instruments, but I felt like I really took to piano because it came a little bit easier to me. And I always wanted to play guitar, but I always like was afraid of it for some reason. And then finally in college, Matt started playing, and I said, well, yeah, I guess I can play too. And then it just took off. But
it's like, if you can do it, I can do it.
You can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, Ryan, and I remember the moment you had an ultimate guitar dad moment where your wife was in labor during a podcast. That was amazing.
It was a little bit like, well, I'm
amazing for you, but
I was a little bit planned. Like, how do you plan your wife going into labor? But like, we knew she was about to pop. We knew she was close. I had my suspicions it was going to be that day. And I was like, honey, do you want me to cancel the podcast? And she's like, no, I think it's going to be tomorrow. I was like, I don't know. Steve's going to come over, but he knows what's up. If we have to stop, then we have to stop. And as we were sitting down to record, she was like, oh man, like, I'm feeling all different in all these ways. And she was like, I'm going to walk over to your family's house. My family lives like 3 blocks away. And I was like, do not walk.
Yeah.
Do not walk to my family's house right now. You drive with yourself over there. And as she's leaving, I'm like, if you go into labor, come interrupt the podcast, make it dramatic.
It was very dramatic. It was awesome.
So it was a little bit planned in that way where, I gave her permission to do that.
Yeah. Because if I remember correctly, Ryan, like she kind of yelled at you. It was like kind of like kind of typical like woman in labor, like, what the, get off the podcast.
That part was real.
Yeah.
Because she had been texting me. She got to my family's house. And the moment she got there, she was like, yeah, I'm in labor. She started texting me and she's like, put on your shoes, get ready to go, grab the bag, meet me at the door, sort of stuff. And I'm seeing these texts and I'm like, no, I'm going to wait till she gets here. So she came in, she saw that I was still podcasting and she came in angry. She came.
Oh, that was so funny. And you didn't even
yeah.
hesitate. If I remember correctly, like you didn't even hesitate. You're like, okay, yeah, we're going. And you were gone. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Steve was like, okay, so we got a podcast and I got to finish this out. That was awesome.
He finished the show by himself, which was wild.
It was
Like-
awesome.
He finished the show. He ran through all the ads. He said everything he was going to say without anyone there to react to him
Yeah.
or have more points or anything like that. And surprise, surprise, it took half as long as it normally takes. Because only one person there. And he turned everything off. He locked the door and he left.
That's amazing. Yeah, that
Wow.
was a classic guitar dad moment, right? Ron, you're like the ultimate guitar dad. So it's great that you came on the show. Inspirational guitar dad moment.
That's right.
Juggling
That's
the
right.
kids in
Yeah,
the guitar
yeah.
gear and all that.
I will
So
say
good.
it's very interesting working from home and recording working from home and having young kids around.
How
And
does that go?
I've, I think my firstborn, I've been doing this 8 years. My youngest is 7. So I've been doing this 7 years with young kids around. And
Yeah.
I've got a 3-year-old right now too. There's times when it is challenging because they go through a couple of years where they just scream.
Oh, that's all they do. Yeah. Yeah.
If they don't scream, they don't breathe,
Yeah. It's like that's life.
Yeah. And so there was a couple of years where I was pretty frazzled and there was a lot of content that I was just phoning it in because I'm like, my wife is gone with the kids. I've got 40 minutes till they get back from the store. I've got to knock this out and it's not going to be my best content ever, but I've got to keep this ball rolling sort of thing. And there's a lot of moments like that. And there's a lot of moments where it's like very emotionally taxing around here. Having
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
a situation where it's like, honey, I'm recording a paid gig today. You like, if they start to freak out, you have to put them in the stroller and you have to go for a walk. And, that's not fun for her. It's not fun for,
No.
the environment and stuff. And then, it's just, it can be very taxing on the family and on, your work life to have that environment going on,
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, you
It's-
got over the hump. Well, a 3-year-old, you're kind of still in the hump there, but
No, she's,
yeah.
I'd say that she's gotten a lot better in the past year, but for a while, she had a voice on her. Oh my God.
It's like, yeah, it's so funny. Did you ever have to like redo a video completely because of screaming in inopportune times or?
No, but I've
Okay.
gotten really good when like so much of filming is keeping track of everything you're saying and everything you just played and having a memory that goes back about 20 seconds. Exactly what you're doing. And like, if something incredibly like interruptive happens, then I just stop. I try to remember my pose and I try to line it back up again and try to, I run a 2-camera rig. So sometimes I can get creative with, putting the other camera on screen to do a transition or something like that. And sometimes I'm just like, here it is, guys. This is what's going on. Like,
That's funny. Oh, that's funny.
There was one video where I didn't catch while I was editing because I listened to it fast or whatever, the kids screaming in the background, but the whole audience could hear it. And they're like,
Oh,
they're
that's
like,
amazing.
someone is dying in the background right now.
But you know what? I mean, that's the way it's, in the pandemic, that's the way it is now. Like I'm pretty much on Zoom all day for my day job. And
Yeah.
it's like, I have a coworker that has like 3 very young kids, like I think under 5 years old. And she's like immune to it, I think. Cause it's just like, it's just constant. And it's like, and I'm like, is everything all right over there? And she's just carrying on the conversation. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? But then I put myself like, oh, I remember what that was like. Like that's what it is. That's life.
Pandemic was rough too, because I was almost in the clear with one of my kids. You know, like my oldest was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And the pandemic hit and he was going to first grade, and now he's home for a full year. And now I've got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old fighting with each other all day, when I almost had, a year where like there would just be one kid at home while I was recording, and by herself, like she doesn't scream nearly as much. When they're together, then it's, like playing and fighting and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's how, well, that's good. That's guitar dad life, right?
That is
So,
guitar dad life right there.
And you're fighting the fight of guitar dad life, which is awesome.
I've made it through the rough parts. I think I'm on easy street now. Now it's just a slow coast to guitar YouTuber retirement.
Yeah, exactly. Then you become the guy in the wheelchair. Right,
And the
to bring it
wheelchair
back
with
full
the-
circle, the wheelchair with the white beard. So
And
Ryan,
the sponsor stickers.
this has been awesome. We really appreciate you coming on. I do want to ask you one more question, which is before we wrap, which is part of the theme of this podcast is keep rock alive. So we always like to talk about like up and coming bands that maybe people don't know about. Do you have any recommendations? Like, are there any like maybe like up and coming bands or newer? They don't have to be like super new bands, but are there bands that you listen to that maybe people may not know about, and it's kind of a new band to check out? Can be kind of any genre. I know the kind of genres you're into, so whatever. If you, yeah,
a ton of new stuff. So that's a little bit. I did have the thought the other night because I was jamming that night on the couch. I was jamming to NXS. And I have this. Yeah. Where is the Greta Van Fleet version of NXS? That's the band I want right now.
I bet it exists, right? So Dave and I spend a lot of time, like mainly Dave and I just kind of react to it. But Dave scours the web for bands that are in the genres we like, which is really like this kind of classic 70s inspired rock stuff and 80s inspired rock. He finds these people. And I bet there's an NXS type of band out there that's doing it, right? So okay, so there you go. So we'll have to we'll scour that, we'll find that, and we'll let you know if you don't have one you want to talk about. Are there any I know you're into the surf. Are there like surf bands that are out there kind of doing it?
There are. There's two bands off the top of my head that people should check out that I know are active right now. One is the Surfer Jets.
I've heard of them. Yeah,
they're an old lady band from Canada, and they nail the vibe. And there's a lot of modern surf bands that kind of push into either punk or like proggy kind of directions, like very male approaches to guitar was like, I'm going to make this as busy and showy as possible.
Yeah.
And kind of lose the script as to what makes surf attractive at its core, which is melodies that you can kind of like hum and sing in your head, and hooks and things like that has honestly been lost to a lot of music. And God bless them, the Surfer Jets like tackle that direction so beautifully. Just really clean, well put together parts, really good attention to melody lines and hooks and things like that, and the aesthetic too. Like they nailed this extremely appropriate like 1960s like go-go kind of mid-century modern aesthetic. Like they're the whole package. Like they are really doing it. On the other side of the thing I was just complaining about, a band called Daikaiju, which are a monstrous trip, like kind of in this very thrashy, proggy, punky kind of direction.
Okay.
As far as surf goes, extremely loud amps. They wear kabuki masks while they play, and they have this.
That's awesome.
Just will wreck you. Like they command an audience like no band you've ever seen before. They do like they're wearing kabuki masks. They don't talk to you, but they look at you and they point at you and they point at something, and you know exactly what they want you to do. And by the end of their show, they have the audience holding up the drummer and every part of the drum kit, holding him above their heads, and then he starts lighting his cymbals on fire with lighter fluid and stuff.
Whoa!
And like I've been to shows where they get the entire audience to carry the entire band outside while still playing, while everything's still plugged in. They're proud for this. They have like 60-foot cables they have everything plugged in with. They get the entire band carried outside, out the doors, and then placed on top of like their tour van, and they finish the set on top of their tour van outside the venue.
What is the name of the band?
Daikaiju.
Daikaiju. All right.
Daikaiju.
Definitely got to check them out.
I have it on my calendar. I think they're coming through. Man, it might be this weekend. I need to check. It might be this Sunday. I'm hoping that I have the energy to go. I'm going to muster as many calories as I can together.
Oh man, Guitar Dad life is like Dave and I are going to go see one of our favorite bands this weekend, what we call the official band on the Guitar Dad podcast, which is Dirty Honey, which is a great like a 70 inspired. We have to bring them up every podcast. Dave, you thought we weren't going to get there.
I didn't think you were going to. I didn't think you were going to pull it out, man. But
we're going to go see them on Saturday. And it's going to it's like we don't do this stuff. Like we're getting old.
No, I'm a night owl. I stay up till midnight, 1 o'clock all the time, but I do that sitting on the couch.
Exactly. We're the same. Yeah.
Being out on my feet until 1:30 in the morning to watch some show. Like I feel tired right now.
That's right, man. I know. And we don't live super close into Boston, so then we got to like drive home a good ways to get home. It's like, oh man, but it's gonna be worth it. And you gotta do it, man. I bet you'll love it. I bet if you do it and you go to the show, like you'll be happy you did. So,
yeah.
You guys
ever talked to Steve from Boston?
You know what? I have met Steve from Boston at a amp show here in Boston, the greater Boston area. But yeah, we definitely got to reach out to Steve from Boston. Yeah. He's great.
Wonderful. I love that guy. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with him a couple times at the guitar events that I go to. And it's like I hang out with all the young dudes during the day when I go to those things.
Yeah.
Every morning at those events when I'm having breakfast, I hang out with like Steve from Boston, Phil McKnight. I hang out with the older dudes and like just trade stories and listen to their wisdom and stuff like that. And like Steve is just such a wonderful guy. So yeah, you should ask him to come on the show or go on the show.
I think that is a great idea.
Yeah, we definitely want to reach out to him.
We definitely got to reach out to Steve from Boston. Yeah, I met him. I recognize him at this amp show that they only did like once and then they never done it again. At like this hotel right outside of Boston. And I met him and we kind of talked for a little bit. That was before we were doing the pod, but yeah, that's a great idea. I just watched one of his videos last night. He unboxed some guitar. We should totally reach out to Steve. We can trade Boston stories. It'll become like a Boston podcast because we're such like Dave and I were both kind of we're from this area. So I work in Boston, so we can talk about Boston all day. It might be a little boring for the rest of our audience.
I actually got to go out to Boston a few years back, and I enjoyed it. It's a fun city.
It's a cool city, man. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's really come a long way recently too. We have like this whole kind of seaport area that's built up over the last 10 years. That's like exponential growth. It's unbelievable. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in the city now. I mean, it shut down pretty bad in the pandemic, but it's a pretty cool place now, and the college students are all back in full effect, and it's a cool vibe. I'd love to get down to San Diego. I've never been there.
Do it. It's fun.
I should, man. It looks amazing. So listen, Ryan, thanks so much. I know we're taking up a lot of your time, so I think we should probably wrap up. But, Dave, we got anything else? Ryan, you got any parting words for the audience here? Or
no, I said everything I came to say. I'm glad I could get it off my chest.
Okay, thanks so much.
We really appreciate it, man. We had a great time.
Of course.
So Ryan's channel is 60 Cycle Hum. The podcast is 60 Cycle Hum. If you guys don't know it, I don't know. If you don't know, you're living under a rock.
If you don't know, you're living under a rock. Under a rock. So let's pull the rock off you, and you can actually enjoy some of this wisdom for yourself.
Exactly. Go check it out. Check out the Facebook group. Great group of people there. The 60 Cycle Hum Facebook group as well. If you want to talk some gear, just the cool thing about your group, Ryan, is it's not just gear. Like, there's a food culture around it, and it's just like general like goofiness about it, which I just love. So.
The thing that we say about the group is that it's not a guitar group. It's a guitar podcast group. And we happen to talk about other things on the podcast sometimes.
That's right.
Sometimes I'm like, I thought this was a guitar group. No, it's a guitar podcast group. There's a difference.
There's a difference.
It's so true.
And that's a way it is. It's funny. I've been in some hilarious discussions and threads on that group. So I really enjoyed it. So yeah, everybody go check out this group, check out the podcast, check out Ryan's channel. We've talked a lot about his videos. He does some great stuff. And you're going to have the DL4 video coming out soon. I also heard that there's a little Space Echo coming out from Boss. Is this really happening? What's going on?
No, you go friend request the president of Boss on Facebook. He's an excellent follow on Facebook. I am not joking.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Everything as it comes out personally, and you can be like, "Wow, that looks great," and he'll respond to you and he'll tell you things.
Oh, wow. Oh, very cool.
He'll talk to you on Facebook. It's awesome. So he published both the compact Space Echo today and the bigger one, which was a surprise to me. I hadn't seen that.
Oh, you had? Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm in a weird situation where I'm friends with the European division of Boss, and they technically can't send me anything.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah.
And so like I know some of the guys from the US division of Boss, but for some reason, like they never send anything out to anyone. So it's like I'm not connected to Boss as far as like demo content goes. But I might be able to source that stuff through Sweetwater at some point. But it does it all looks really it
looks really cool. I'm excited about it. So we're not going to see like a million video release day of the Boss Space Echo, huh? Oh, that's too bad.
Not for me.
Not from you. Well, that's awesome. So Ryan, listen, man, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to the guitar dads, and I think our audience will love this. And thank you so much.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate it. And I think. Yeah, and I think is that it, Matt? I think we're done, right? That was this week's Guitar Dads podcast.
Thank you, everybody. Keep rock alive, and we'll catch you on the flip.